Hello and welcome back, everyone. I hope you had some incredible and meaningful conversations with your teams during the team reflection time. And I hope that you got to enjoy a break, getting some food, getting some fresh air, enjoying a nice walk, whatever works best for you. I'm so excited to be wrapping up our conference and our summit today with two incredible experiences. First, we're going to be introducing Judy Kroon. Now, Judy Kroon is a comedian, a motivational speaker, a radio host with specials on NBC, CBS, and CTV. Judy is not only hilarious, she's also worked with organizations committed to ending homelessness as well as fundraising for breast cancer, fundraising over $650,000 for the social sector. Today, Judy will be exploring with us how we can relieve work-related stress with some humor. I really hope you enjoy. Without further ado, Judy.
Thank you very much, Dwayne, for that awesome intro. And thank you so much for inviting me to speak at Future of Good. Thank you to all of the organizers for such a successful summit. And yeah, Dwayne, thank you for that wonderful intro. Folks, you're in good hands. As Dwayne mentioned, I've been very blessed in my career. I've been able to do comedy clubs across Canada, the United States, cruise ships. Yes, I've been on CBS, NBC, ABC, A&E, CTV, CBC. I've done morning radio in Toronto, Ottawa, New York, Los Angeles, Sirius XM. How many people have heard of me? Probably nobody. Don't you love Canadian show business? It's better than the Witness Protection Program. I did the news, the sports, the weather for years. So if you like me this afternoon, my name is Judy Kroon. If you don't, my name is Sandy Ronaldo. So thank you. Thank you. This is great. I know you love virtual comedy. I'm used to not getting any laughs. It's perfect. I love virtual comedy. Seriously, this is great. This is fun. This is very positive because, excuse me, allergy season already. Doing the news in Toronto, very traumatic. It's always about the crime. You can't trust anybody. I go to the laundromat the other day. Me and this guy, 10 machines. He decides to use the one right beside me. So I stabbed him, took his dryer money just to be on the safe side. Lots of creepy people living in Toronto, by the way, I noticed that. I go to my hairdresser the other day. The guy's washing my hair. Finally, we get out of the shower and hey-o. Listen, I hope you're smiling. I hope you're laughing because when we laugh, we relax. When we relax, we learn. Research at Loma Linda University in California has actually shown that 1 minute of stress can weaken our immune system for 8 hours. On the other hand, 1 minute of laughter can boost our immune system for 24 hours. So you're welcome. Research at Harvard has actually shown that when we get stressed out, the gray matter in our brain actually shrinks. The gray matter is like the factory that builds the messages for the rest of our brain and our body. The white matter is like the highways that those messages travel on. But when we get stressed out, we go into the grip. We can't make decisions or we make bad decisions. I speak at a lot of health and safety conferences, and sometimes those bad decisions can lead to some serious accidents. But again, when we laugh, we relax. When we relax, we learn. And what we don't realize is that when we get stressed out, whether it's in the workplace or whether it's at home, we get stressed out. You know, somebody cuts us off in traffic, something as easy as that. We fire off our stress hormones. It takes about 45 minutes for our stress levels to get back to normal. You know, firing off that adrenaline and cortisol. It takes about 45 minutes for our stress levels to get back to normal, even though we think we're okay. Somebody stresses us out at work, you know, firing off all that adrenaline, all that cortisol. And, you know, it's just not good for us. Now, there's a lot of people out there who go, well, you know what? I don't have time to work on my happiness. I don't have time to work on my the hope, because I'm worried about paying my bills. You know, we've gone through 3 years of COVID, a looming recession. But what studies have shown us over and over again is that when we actually put happiness before our success, we have a greater chance of being successful. In fact, over 250 independent studies with 300,000 participants in total have proven this over and over again. And part of the reason, and this is exciting, is that when we're happy, when we're hopeful, when we're laughing, We trigger our right, bright, creative side. And our right, bright, creative side is not only for singing and dancing and doing stand-up comedy, but that creativity leads to innovation. That innovation leads to staying ahead of the competition, staying ahead of the robot, staying ahead of AI. So activating our right, bright, creative side is fantastic, which is why when we associate information with humor, we have a greater chance of remembering that information. Not only are we triggering our left logical side, but also our right, bright, creative side. And we tend to hold on to information longer because we're using our five senses, we're using humor, we're using our imagination, we're using ridiculous stories. So when we associate information with humor, we have a greater chance of remembering that information because we're activating our right, bright, creative side. I'll give you two examples. I was doing a conference over in England and I was flying back, British Airways, and I kind of fell asleep during the safety video. And I woke up about 30 seconds later, everybody was laughing. They were laughing at the safety video because over 15 years ago, Southwest Airlines decided that they wanted to get more eyeballs on the screens of their safety video. So they started making funny safety videos, still getting the information out there, but they said, let's hire comedians, let's hire actors, let's hire improvisers. And then all the other airlines over the years followed suit. British Airways used some of their top actors with that dry British humor for a very, very funny safety video. And now, instead of 300 people on an airplane getting that safety information, they were going to either Facebook, Instagram, going to YouTube, announced that 300 people on a plane. We had millions of people across the world watching funny safety videos. Another example of incorporating humor to help people retain valuable information. An example, a couple of years ago, a gentleman saw a woman pulled off to the side of the road. She was in her vehicle. She was unconscious. He pulled her out, broke the window, pulled her out, and he started doing CPR. But here's the thing, he'd never taken a CPR training course before. However, he saw that very, very funny episode of The Office, the CPR training episode, right? Great, funny episode. And he remembered that if he did the chest compressions to staying alive, to the beat of staying alive, that's actually the number of beats per minute that you should be doing chest compressions. He was actually pulled off to the side of the road doing chest compressions, singing out loud, staying alive, staying alive. Paramedics arrived 10 minutes later. They said that he probably saved that woman's life. Why? Because of information he retained from a funny episode of The Office. So I would like to give you the ingredients for relieving work-related stress with humor and touch on a couple of hacks throughout this presentation. Now it's going to be short, but let's go for it. Number one, when it comes to relieving stress. Number one, a positive attitude. A positive attitude includes humor. I think that's so important. I put that as number one on the list. Number two, perseverance. Perseverance gives us passion. Passion gives us push when everybody else drops off, as entrepreneur Gary Vaynerchuk says. Number three, forgiveness. Forgiveness is huge because when we choose not to forgive, we're firing off those stress hormones, adrenaline and cortisol. You know, half the time the person's not even thinking about you and you are literally stewing in your own chemicals. Number four, faith, believing in something bigger than ourselves. It doesn't have to be religious. It doesn't have to be spiritual, God, Buddha, Allah, Walmart, something, anything. When we believe in something bigger, when we give something back, like something like this fantastic conference, right? When we give something back, our caveman brains want to belong to the clan. When we give something back, organizations that give something back, committees that give something back, companies that give something back, and put that stake in the ground for their employees, they hold on to their employees longer. How much longer? 13% longer. So faith, believing in something bigger, giving something back. All right. Healthy mental activity. Never before have we been inundated with so much information. We feel overwhelmed by that information. But again, there's this huge chunk of our brain that just doesn't get enough of a workout, and that's our bright, creative side. So, a couple of hacks I'd like to share with you that I share with my second city students to get them out of that the grip, the left logical side. So that's number 5. Number 6, family and friends, the touchstones in our lives. We can't live with them. We can't live without them. Finally, followed by healthy physical activity. Now, you'll hopefully have a couple of aha moments during this presentation, as brief as it's going to be, or maybe you'll have a lot of aha moments. And if that's the case, if I can add a couple of minutes or hours or days to your life by pulling you back from the brink, by getting you not to release your adrenaline and cortisol all the time, then I've done my job. All right. So, yahoo. So, number 1, a positive attitude. I don't know how many people consider themselves positive, but according to research at the University of Utrecht, positive people statistically live longer than negative people. How much longer? Up to 10 years longer. Now, how many positive people do we have? Right? And look, it's no hocus pocus, it's no magic. It just makes common sense. Positive thoughts equal positive actions, equal a positive, purposeful life, equal a positive destiny, equal a positive legacy, equal a positive blueprint that we can give to the next generation, right? Positive thoughts equal positive actions, equal a positive, purposeful life. What's the alternative? Negative words equal negative actions equal Donald Trump. Do you want to be Donald Trump? I don't think so. I don't think so. And listen, I'm not a Pollyanna. I mean, I know the guy could be president again of the United States. And yeah, I'm freaked out about that. But I'm still in shock, because the last time I thought to myself, how can this person who looks like the love child of Carrot Top and Chucky possibly be president of the States a second time? But that's when I lean on the words of Michelle Obama. What does Michelle Obama always say? When they go low, we get high. And sorry, that's Justin Trudeau. No, she says when they go low, we go high. And if you need further proof of that, consider something that filmmaker Michael Moore says. Michael Moore from Fahrenheit 9/11 and Sicko. He said, listen, if we're to take a page from the great leaders throughout time, Nelson Mandela, Gandhi, Mother Teresa, in order for movements to grow, in order for movements to be sustained, these movements have to be peaceful. And one of the best tools that we have in our tool belt that is peaceful is humor that just doesn't get enough use, right? So I'll give you a perfect example. I don't know how many people watch the news at night anymore. Yes, the headlines seem frightening, right? More and more frightening. But I did news for 15 years. And guess what? Here's the news about news. Fear sells. There's a reason why Fox made $4 billion last year. $4 billion. But as people like Bill Gates say, small incremental news is happening every year, every day, every minute. But our caveman brains, again, don't want to tune into small incremental good news. We're not attracted to that. But again, the news about news, more people are tuning out of shows that deliver the news, but they're tuning into shows that deliver the news with a sense of humor. Shows like Stephen Colbert shows like Jon Stewart. Got a chance to work with Jon Stewart. Fantastic guy. I don't know if you saw his episode a couple of weeks ago when he was talking about his dog who passed away and he was crying for 7 minutes on the air. It was so sad. But a humanitarian, a good guy putting good stuff out there. He and his wife have this fantastic animal sanctuary in New York State. Canada's own Samantha Bee did the same thing. Trevor Noah did the same thing. They all took from the legends. They took the scary headline, they added the funny punchline, and guess what? Then we can handle the news. We can handle the truth. We can sleep at night. We still want to be informed, but we don't want to be scared to death. So I'll give you an example of how this works. You might have heard this joke before, but it's just an example of how we use the scary political line and then the funny punchline. Have you heard of the Donald Trump sandwich? Hey-o, have you heard of the Donald Trump sandwich? Ooh, scary headline, Donald Trump. 2 slices of white bread, lots of bologna, Russian dressing, and a small gherkin. Have you heard of a Donald Trump sandwich? Right? See, you add the small gherkin, you add the punchline, And again, it takes the power out of whatever it is that you're making fun of. So humor is incredibly important. As author Stephen King says, fear and humor are very closely related in our brains. When the cavemen and the cave women were in the caves and they heard something outside and everybody freaked out, and then some little animal jumped by, everybody laughed, right? Because humor is one of our brain's way of processing the unknown, processing information until we can figure it out. It's a great tool. And two examples of that: when I was working at the Mix here in Toronto, it was the Mix before they changed it to Virgin, which is why I got fired. But no, I'm just kidding. It's another story. But we did a fundraiser for Sick Kids Hospital. And every year we did this fundraiser and we talked to parents, and we would, they talk about Sick Kids Hospital, how Sick Kids Hospital helped their children. And I remember I was talking to a mom and a dad, and they said, Jude, you know what? We were really afraid when our son was going through chemotherapy. And thanks to Sick Kids Hospital, he's in remission now. He's doing really well. But we remember in some of those really, really scary moments, we really our humor got quite dark. We leaned on our humor, even though we didn't think we were really funny, and then our humor got really dark. But looking back now, it was those dark moments that got us through the fear. Again, those unknown times that we used humor, right, to get through the fear. In 2009, doctors in Afghanistan were being studied by a psychologist who went there to study the doctors and nurses who were in the trenches day in, day out. He couldn't figure out, how do these people go back to that horror every day? But he noted how quickly they would make a joke, and sometimes how dark that joke would be, even if it was their conscious or maybe just subconscious way of coping with the stress, of coping with the horror. Just keep moving forward. So the power of humor is incredibly, incredibly important. And rest in peace, rest in power, Reverend Desmond Tutu. Reverend Desmond Tutu had to do a presentation a number of years ago to the Hutus and the Tutsis after the Rwandan war, and he was really nervous about going out onto the stage. And someone said to him, they said, why don't you use humor? Why don't you try and open with a joke? And Reverend Desmond Tutu said, well, I'm not really a funny person, but I'm a good storyteller. So he went out and he told a funny story. And he told the story about these two villages that were fighting. They were fighting over the sizes of their noses. One village had really small noses. The other village had really big noses. And they were fighting over the sizes of their noses. And the people in the audience kind of looked at each other like, what is he talking about? Until they realized he was talking about them. And then they started to giggle, and then they started to laugh, and then they really started to laugh. And then he launched into his presentation. So the power of humor is truly, truly phenomenal. We are just scraping the surface. We really are. And as I said, I'm not a Pollyanna. Sometimes we need other superhero traits. We need other superhero tools to lean on, like the attitude of gratitude. Just by saying thank you, we release all sorts of good chemicals into our brain, right? The UN does a study every year. It came out again. Happiest places in the world. Canada slipped down to number 15. We slipped down 2 spots, but I think we can get back up to 13, or maybe even higher than that if we make some trades. So I'm counting on next year to get our 2 slots back even more. But all joking aside, happiest places in the world, Canada. This year we're number 15, and that's pretty cool when you consider all the places in the world. I personally think we live in the greatest country in the world. And one of the reasons we're one of the happiest is, for our size, for our population, we're relatively safe, we're relatively clean. It's not perfect, but we have a healthcare system, we have a welfare system. Switzerland is usually in the top chunk as well. The Swiss attribute their happiness to being orderly and on time. Oh, what fun! But the Swiss also believe that talking about your wealth, talking about your money is really tacky. They think it's super tacky when Americans, North Americans go, "Hi, how are you? What do you do for a living?" They say talk about anything else other than your wealth. So I don't know, open a conversation. "Hi, how are you? How much do you weigh? How's that affair going? Is your husband still having an affair?" Something that's just a little more general, something that just doesn't have as much of a trigger. So that's Switzerland. And what's also really cool about the study is that there were some countries with a lot of crime, a lot of poverty, that still scored higher than other countries with less crime, less poverty. Indonesia, Mexico, India. And they just found that one of the reasons, again, there's no hocus pocus, but it just makes common sense. And that is sometimes advertisers forget about poor countries and they are no longer, or they've never been targeting those particular people for advertising. So as a result, poor people aren't flipping through magazines all day going, "You know what, I'll be happy when I get my own yacht. I'll be happy when I get my own island. I'll be happy when I get my own airplane." Instead, poor people say, "I'm happy to be alive. I'm grateful to be alive. Thank you." And if some poor kid in Indonesia making, $10 a day can find something in their life to be grateful for, who am I here in Canada to complain because I can't assemble my IKEA furniture? Like, really? Although IKEA is a little bit frustrating. I went to IKEA the other day. It took me 3 hours to assemble my bookshelf. It's supposed to be a bed. I'm sleeping on a bookshelf now. I mean, it's just oh, shopping. Shopping is scary. Speaking of shopping, I have to say I can't believe that we're near the end of March. This year started off kind of spooky for me. 3 weeks after Christmas, I was visited by the ghost of Christmas past, Visa. And I don't know how my bills got so high. I did all my Christmas shopping at Costco. I don't know if we have any Costco shoppers, but don't you love Costco? Isn't it addictive? I mean, you go in for toilet paper, you come out with a trampoline. How does that happen? It's the free samples. I love the free samples. It's the free samples that they lure you in with. I like the people who pretend they don't know what the sample is. What is that? What is that? You're such a connoisseur after all. You're shopping at Costco, but all of a sudden now you've got like the brandy snifter. What is that? It's peanut butter, lady. It's your third one. Get lost. Hit the road. But anyway, so I hope, making fun of Costco, making fun of IKEA, I hope you had a moment there to smile, because what I wanted to tell you is when we laugh, when we relax, when we share a joke with coworkers, we share a joke with friends, we're triggering our endorphins. Endorphins are natural painkillers. We are releasing our serotonin. Serotonin is known as the happy hormone. Serotonin is released when we're eating chocolate. Maybe that's why the Swiss are so happy. We gravitate towards leaders who have that sense of hope, who have that sense of humor. Shameless plug, my podcast, Laugh Long and Prosper. I interview various people about various topics, but I remember this particular interview with a professor in the States who had written a book about great leaders throughout history who had used humor to motivate their followers. And she talked about Abraham Lincoln, Winston Churchill, more recently, Nancy Pelosi, Barack Obama. I love Barack Obama. I love Barack Obama's self-deprecating sense of humor. He's so cool. He's so chill. And I think he's so cool. I think he's so chill. He probably could have been Prime Minister of Canada forever. I love Barack Obama. Remember when he was trying to socialize healthcare? They always bring up Canada, like we're some sort of banana republic. I know we're not perfect. Like I had to get a mammogram a couple of months ago and everything worked out. But don't you hate getting a mammogram? Don't you feel vulnerable? Because they have to get a picture of your breast and they use a sketch artist, and but it's free. Who cares? Basically, it's this vice grip that they jam you into, crank down until they flatten it into like a McCain's thin crust pizza. On top of that, I got the nurse from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest jamming me into this machine like she's stuffing a piece of luggage into an overhead compartment on Air Canada. At one point, I think she had like her foot on my head. And then they go, "Don't move, don't move." Like you're going to get up with the machine attached to you, drag it down the hall for 15 minutes. Hello. But anyways, I digress. So number one, a positive attitude. A positive attitude includes humor. Number two, perseverance. Perseverance is incredibly important. Just hanging in there. All right. Perseverance. Forgiveness. Forgiveness is huge. Quick forgiveness tip. What I'd like you to do, and I'd like you to just close your eyes. Just close your eyes. And I would like you to imagine somebody that really, really triggers you, makes you angry, whether it's at work or whether it's at home. Okay. And put your two hands out. Put your two hands out. Just put it around their neck just for 3 seconds and just squeeze. Okay. It's the 3 second rule. Just squeeze, 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 squeeze. All right. Okay. Now open your eyes. All right. Now shake it out. All right. Obviously, I'm kidding, but this reminds me of a fantastic quote from a book called The Shack. Forgiveness is not about forgetting. Forgiveness is about letting go of the other person's neck. All right. So just let go. Faith, believing in something bigger than ourselves, like I said. Healthy mental activity. Healthy mental activity. Never before have we been inundated by so much information. We feel overwhelmed. I mentioned my second city students earlier. How do I get them out of their left logical brain? I need them on their right, bright, creative side. And one of the fantastic techniques I use is meditation. Meditation works like a charm. So just for 1 minute, if I could just get you to close your eyes, please. And you probably have heard of this technique before, but I noticed that the Calm app uses something very similar, square breathing. If I can just get you to inhale for 4 seconds, get you to hold it for 4 seconds, and then get you to release it for 4 seconds. Okay. So breath number one, we're going to do this 4 times, which is why they call it square breathing. Okay. So breath number one, inhale. 101, 102, 103, 104. Hold it for 4 seconds. 101, 102, 103, 104. And release for 4 seconds. 101, 102, 103, 104. Breath number two, inhale for 4 seconds. 101, 102, 103, 104. Hold it for 4 seconds. 101, 102, 103, 104. And release for 4 seconds. 101, 102, 103, 104. Breath number three, inhale for 4 seconds. 101, 102, 103, 104. Hold it for 4 seconds. 101, 102, 103, 104. And release for 4 seconds. 101, 102, 103, 104. And finally, breath number four, inhale for 4 seconds. 101, 102, 103, 104. Hold it for 4 seconds. 101, 102, 103, 104. And finally, release. 101, 102, 103, 104. Okay, so healthy mental activity, and we talked about family and friends, or I mentioned family and friends, of course, the touchstones in our lives. We can't live with them. We can't live without them. And finally, healthy physical activity. I've covered a lot of information. Obviously, I can't give you all the little tweaks, but I'd like to wrap it up. And I know that you've been inundated with a lot of great information over the last 2 days. But another technique I use in my class is storytelling. So the last story I'd like to share with you, I'm sharing with you because stories are a great way to remember information as well. Funny stories, quirky stories. You may have heard the story before, but it's a great analogy that might help you remember the pillars that I talked about in the past 25 minutes. All right. You may have heard the story, but if it helps you remember the pillars, then right on. Okay. So a farmer has a donkey and the donkey falls down a well. Now, the farmer doesn't have the money or the equipment to get the donkey out of the well. So he grabs a shovel and he starts burying the donkey. And the donkey's freaking out. But then all of a sudden, the next shovel of gold that goes down the well, the donkey shakes it off and he takes a step up onto the dirt. The next shovel of dirt that goes down the well, the donkey shakes it off and he takes a step up onto the dirt until until eventually the donkey walks out of the well. Now, life's going to throw a lot of dirt on us. Life is going to throw a lot of challenges on us. The key is to learn from those challenges and remember the 5 laws to life. Free your heart from hatred, forgive. Free your mind from worry. Most of the things we worry about never happen. Practice gratitude. Give more, and finally, expect less. Now, do you know what happened to the donkey? When the donkey walked out of the well, he turned around and he bit the farmer. The farmer died from septic shock. The real moral of the story, when you try to cover your ass, it comes back to bite you. You guys have been fabulous. Thank you so much. I'm going to turn it back to Dwayne again. If you like me, my name is Judy Croon. If you don't, my name is Sandy Ronaldo. Take care.
Thank you so much, Judy. That was amazing. I'm trying to put on my MC face and not be just caught up in laughter. Yeah, no one wants to hide their ass. Let's make sure that we're not doing that and actually enjoying and learning of the content that we've developed over the past 2 days and putting it to good use. Thank you so much for all of that, Judy. It was really refreshing, and I think kind of perfectly encapsulates the vibe of this summit. There's a lot of information. There's a lot of knowledge. There's a lot that we've been learning and unlearning. And sometimes it's about focusing on the simple, practical steps that we can take in our day-to-day lives that make wellness more accessible. Now we're going to be moving on to our keynote, our final closing keynote for the summit. You can head over to the next link and I'll see you there.